Hello and welcome to another episode of the Two Medics podcast. My name is Imran Lasker. I'm a consultant radiologist.
Hi, I'm Tushkan Warden. I'm a cardiology registrar, so specializing in intervention.
How have you been, Thrusha? I don't even know what platform we're on anymore. It feels like Twitter's changed. Everything's changing so quickly. How you been,
Yeah, yeah, I'm okay. Are you the real Imran though? How would I?
mate?
How do I verify?
It's true. It's true. I have not put $8 down or whatever it is to blue tick myself, but I did look at it. I did look at it thinking none of it looks particularly compelling. No, not really. Have you seen it? It's like you get increased hours, you get less adverts. It's like I do pay for YouTube Premium. Do you pay for YouTube Premium by any chance?
No. What do you get with that?
That's quite useful. You get YouTube Music, so you can listen to pretty much every. It's Spotify, but with
Yeah.
YouTube, and then you can have no adverts, and you can download videos as well. So often there are podcasts that I just download, so I can listen to them if I'm on the tube or the train or something. The odd times I do go, so it's quite nice to have something like that available to me. Yeah, it's mainly the adverts. I can't remember the last time I saw an advert on YouTube now because I paid to get rid of them because they're annoying. So it's quite good. You can't put a price on time, man. That's the thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? And there's all those few minutes and seconds, they do add up over a year. So yeah,
Wow.
I don't think it's that terrible.
Fair.
Maybe it is terrible. I don't know. But yeah, Thrusha, you give me blue tick soon. I mean, that's something I've been wanting to get for a while now.
Yeah, I want to get to big follow. I just want more people to laugh at my jokes. So I don't think the blue tick would necessarily mean much in that way. I just need more people to follow me and validate me. That's all I want.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I think we all need validation. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of validation, I've had a tough week this week. I took on a personal trainer. Did I mention this last week or did I mention it to you, Thrusha? I think I mentioned it to you after the podcast. Yeah. Okay. So I took on a personal trainer just to see what it's like. Because we often talk about, oh yeah, that person, they can only do that because they've got a personal trainer, they got this, they got that. And I thought, well, what would happen if I did try that out? And I tried to sign up for one taste session, but the dude was, nah, if you want to sign up, you've got to sign up properly for a long time. And I took a battering, man. I got to say, and you know what was really weird? So on the first time I met him, so if anyone's interested, he does do some online stuff as well. Ajmal Karum, Ajmal Khuram. He's on YouTube, Instagram, and all the rest of it. A really lovely guy, actually. But the first session I had, we did legs, right? And I'm completely battered. And then the thing is, it's after the legs day, I realized that why have they got all the leg machines upstairs?
The final reps.
Oh, it was horrendous to walk down. He's, bro, you all right? And I'm like, no, I'm not all right.
Yeah.
First off, you made me list all that. And now I have to go down these stairs. And I had to literally hold onto the side and hobble down the stairs. It was absolutely horrendous. It was horrendous.
Right.
But it's one of those things that you look back and think, yeah, all right, fine. Hopefully this works. Stops me from getting dad bod.
Yeah, fair enough. That's the fight, isn't it? That's just like the daily struggle.
The constant battle.
Two things.
Yeah.
One, to get rid of just to avoid that. And the other thing is to keep your calves just like a reasonable size. That's for me anyway. I don't know. I can't remember what your calves are like. Well, I hate my like chicken leg calves. They're so tiny. So if I get a personal trainer, they'd be like, so what do you want? Do you want to get toned? Do you want to get like fit?
Give
I'm like,
calves.
I just want calves, man. That's what calves is. That's all I want.
Yeah. How have you been through? What's been going on this week?
A few lab sessions. We've been going quite well. Tired, man, because the kids haven't been so well. Like every week, there's like a different kind of like illness, and so that then there's going to be like a few mishaps for that. I'm feeling some considerable pain from sleep deprivation. That'd be good. This weekend, though, we've kept that kind of blank, so hopefully that'll be like an opportunity to just not do very much. What is there to really speak of? What is there notable? Yeah, that's about it, really. Not anything exciting.
I find that like sometimes you think, you know what, I just want the kids to go away and so I can just actually relax. And when they're gone, you can't really relax because it's a bit quiet.
Of course, right?
There's not very much going on.
The second they're quiet, you know that something's really wrong. Something's about to happen. Something's about to go down. So
yeah, something's going down.
You need to live in you have to just exist in the chaos. And the minute the chaos stops, that's because more chaos is about to ensue, but it's like chaos squared. So yeah, the perilous existence.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I'm not really selling the whole kid thing, but I don't think I ever really sell it, do I, Thrusha? I'm always, I'm on other groups saying, don't do it, please don't do it.
I guess that probably does take us on. There was a tweet from Bella where she was talking about, do you see that one where she's talking to a medical student?
I did, yes. I
And
think
she
I
said-
tweeted back on that. Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And where she says, I think she implies that she perhaps went on maybe for longer than she'd have liked to, but ended up just talking for a long time about how she couldn't recommend medicine as a career. So she said, just spend the best part of an hour trying to tell someone why they shouldn't do medicine. I feel awful shitting on the dreams, but I just can't in good faith recommend it as a career anymore, she says. What do you think?
Yeah. What do you think, Trisha? We've spoken about this, like whether we'd recommend it to our own children, etc. It's a tough one, isn't it? What do you think?
Yeah. I think the thing is that like I guess there's being realistic, but there's also like recognizing the kind of enthusiasm of, it depends on who you're speaking to. And I think it is important to be honest, because I think what's the point in like making out that everything is, I don't know, rainbows and sunshine. But I think at the same time, it is possible to give people advice, but do it in a kind of kind way whereby you recognize that a person has enthusiasm and don't necessarily want to just beat them into submission with your kind of however you tend to be feeling. And I do feel that sometimes, depending on the type of week or day I've had, I might give a slightly different kind of reflection on things. And so
When you're on call, it's mostly be expletives.
exactly. So I don't hold it against her for being real. What do you think about it?
I think, yeah, I mean, we've had students come through, and it's more of a question. As I always try and find out, like, what is it they want and what do they think they're going to get, and that's more important than anything. But it's really hard to get that from them, because as soon as you ask them the question, "Why do you want to do medicine?" they'll come out with you've heard the answer before, all the standard stuff, and then I have to stop them and say, "Look, I heard this stuff before. I said this stuff myself, but what is it really?" And then they try and come out with something else, and I say, "Okay, listen, okay." Is it this? Is it basically, I say, is it money? Is it status? What do you actually want to help people? Like, what is it? And then eventually some of them have come out with this, my parents do it, and we've got a lot of people in the family. It just seems like a decent thing to do, all that kind of thing. And I think for me, whenever I have someone like that, I always try and find out, like, what is it that is driving them to do it? Because I think your drive will change. Because if you want to do it because you want to help people, that will probably change at some point. Because at some point you just can't be bothered anymore. You feel like, I've got a list to do. I need to get through it. Right? That's what happens. There's become the names on a list and a whole lot of jobs to do. There has to be something more that you're getting, I think, anyway. Yeah, it's really difficult. But the thing is, we've spoken about this as well. Like, the decision is made so young that you don't really understand what any of this stuff means. You say to someone, "Oh, you don't get paid much," but then they'll say, "But you do get paid."
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
and whatever you're getting paid is a lot, right? Isn't it? How much do you really need? Because they don't understand. It's hard to tell them that, no, listen, you could do a lot. If you financially, finances matter, and you could do financially very well if you did anything, lots of other things, right? Dentistry would be a good one if you want to do something similar. You know what I mean? But it's very difficult to explain to someone that.
Right, context to that.
Yeah.
Like, there's tax, and you're like, oh yeah, because it's impenetrable even now to like understand lots of it, and then be like, yeah, there'll be a mortgage and there'll be exam fees and whatever. But I think it's that way on purpose, isn't it? In some ways, like, because you don't, and because there's so many little things, you don't realize how you're getting shafted in tiny little ways. That's so difficult to get across to you.
I don't know whether this is skewed. Obviously, I've got a skewed version of who I meet and stuff, but most of the people that come through are relatives of a doctor or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way it works with us and Baz, and they just happen to know someone that comes through. So I assume you would assume that they'd know. Actually, interestingly, one I assume would know everything really, but I end up having to. I think I mentioned it before. Like, I had to get to the whiteboard, and draw out like the trajectory of all the subspecialties I knew of, and explain to them. It was like Back to the Future, where he goes, "This is the timeline, right?" And then he kind of draws the parallel timelines. That's literally what I did for this person. Try and explain to them, like, you're looking at years. If you're going to say what you think you're going to do, then you're looking at absolutely decades. And that's nothing wrong with that. But you need to know that decades is a long, long time. But it was that kind of, yeah, it's important to tell the truth. And I think even when someone says it takes a long time to get to where you want to get to, you don't really realize it until you're in it. Like, you just looking at your mates and all them around, they're like flourishing careers, and you're like still trundling along, hopefully going to finish one day, and all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't hit you till it hits you, right? It's hard to explain to people, and it's very hard to explain to them, I found. So it's no point sometimes.
I think that brings us something quite nicely to. There was a tweet from Maria Lang, and she was saying, she's talking about the orthopedic exam, and she says, surely an exam with a 35% pass rate is a failure of the program, a failure at exam standard setting, or both.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous to have a narrative of choosing the best, investing into years of training, and then having 65% not reach the standard. It's not the candidates. And 100%. I think there's that kind of weird things that you might take for granted. Like, I remember when I was at medical school, and I think I mentioned it before about my kind of, hearing about someone failing their RCP and being like, how can you fail that exam so many times? But then, like, those exams are just ridiculous. And now, cynically, I look back on them as perhaps money-making schemes for the colleges. Like,
yeah, mate. But what annoyed me about it is, I think, was exams in general. Yeah, it's like, I have no issue with trying to revise what you want me to revise. I have no issue with trying to remember what you asked me to remember. Yeah, but you don't even tell me what I need to remember half the time. Like you say, oh yeah, don't worry, it's not a trick or anything. And then let's say they'll teach you about subarachnoid hemorrhages, right? And then they'll go find the most obscure thing that looks
Yeah.
like a subarachnoid hemorrhage. And they'll be like, yeah, what's that? You know, oh, it's a subarachnoid hemorrhage, isn't it? Yeah, but it isn't, because you're like, why though?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Just tell me what you need me to know and I'll do whatever you ask me to do. But I don't want to be thinking out the box. I don't need to be thinking about the box. I'm too old for that. Just tell me what I need to know and I'll do it. I promise I'll do it to the best of my ability. But yeah, I agree. I feel if you want someone to pass the exam and then if you're, let's say you're a tutor and your pass rate to get your students through a particular exam is like 35%. And how many people, do you think many people are going to come to you anymore?
Yeah.
They'll be like, yeah, I don't know, mate. I just don't think you've got
Yeah.
credentials to be a tutor anymore, do you? Yeah, I just think there's a lot to unpick when it comes to that. And like you said, maybe it's a big cunning plan, to take as much money away from us as possible. And Beth and John, one of our co-hosts, did talk about a cunning plan that she'd unfortunately witnessed turn up, where people were trying to talk about undermining and resisting ACPs, ANPs, and PAs. And it was quite a long Reddit thread, wasn't it? Going bullet point form as to how to go about undermining your fellow health professionals so that they, I don't know, don't take over medicine or something. Yeah, I've never seen the amount of thought go into
So
this.
weird.
It is
So weird.
getting very strange. Yeah. Do you want to tell us more about it? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the Junior Doctors UK Reddit thread, and
Yeah.
it was someone who's posted about ways of not overtly being dicks, but intentionally being a dick, but with passive aggression.
Yeah.
And I think this kind of stuff just shows how like they seem to be living like rent free in people's heads. And one of the things that I think have been labeled back at us, or at least at people who push back at this whole kind of like anti-PA narrative, is being out of touch or something. And I guess trying to think back, because a lot of these people, or at least the non-accountants or the people who seem to be so upset about it, tend to be medical students and F1s. And I think they're probably at the most kind of insecure point in their career. And so I do feel for them in that way. And I was just trying to think back to how I felt as an F1. And I do remember thinking I remember seeing once when seeing like a critical care outreach nurse and being like, what is your role? And feeling, oh, okay, like they are doing gases. Oh no, they're saying that I need to do they're coming to assist the patient and said that I need to do these things. And I remember being like, is that helpful? Is that helpful to me? And I think part of that was that kind of insecurity or feeling at the kind of bottom of the food chain. And then, so I do empathize with them. Like, I get it. You do feel like that. And I remember like in surgery, as a surgical F1, the specialist nurses, I remember feeling again, like undermined by them and literally feeling like the lowest rung in the ladder and treated with no respect, because you felt like you're made to feel like a kind of traveler where you're only going to be there for 4 months. You're pretty disposable. Your feelings don't count that way. If you're a problem, we'll just move on. But at the same time, like this kind of level of thought and stuff is just, I don't wish to berate them, but it does make me worry about people feeling this way, because I'm like, it's not conducive. So like, if you're like worrying about this kind of strange behavior, that's only harmful, really. You're wasting so much energy on this kind of roundabout.
But it harks back to like, why are you here in the first place? A bit like that question we would ask someone thinking about coming into medicine, right? And if you're here genuinely, what's the standard answer when someone says, I want to go into medicine, I want to help people? That's what people usually say.
Yeah.
And so it's like, there are other ways to help people. And so this person's helping people. And so just take the help that you can and move on, right? And then if it's about status, you got your status, you got a DR in front of your name, right? This is about money. You are getting paid, and one day you're going to hopefully get paid more. So you've got those things. So then it just becomes a matter of pride. That's all it is to me. That's what I think it is.
That's
and I'm with you as well. I remember we used to have this respiratory nurse consultant, and we used to, it feels very mean now, but when I used to talk with other F1s, we used to joke like how she used to always put across the word consultant before nurse all the time. And I feel like at the time we used to get bossed around by her a fair bit. Like, you need exactly what you said, like she'd do all the assessments and then call us in and then get us to do like the ABGs and tell us what to do. And I think a lot of that is exactly what you said, your insecurity of where you are and what you mean to the workplace. But if you took a step back, it took me a longer time to realize like how important being a junior doctor is actually to the entire process. No one makes you feel like you're worth anything until the day that you're gone, or until the day that you're sick, or the day that you go on leave and someone else has to cover your job. When you come back, they're like, oh, thank God you're back, man. Honestly, who else? And it sounds really rubbish, but you're doing all these jobs, but they are helping the bigger picture. But the thing is, I kind of half jokingly said last time, was I just, I don't know, man, just do something. Just go and do your work and go home. Don't worry about it. You're getting paid. You're on a nice trajectory, hopefully, to get to wherever you want to get to. Don't worry about the small stuff. If someone is doing ABGs instead of you, it's probably a good thing, because you probably don't want to do it anyway in the first place, because that stuff's boring. You want to do the stuff that you actually want to do. I don't know. I just think that things are changing. Things are changing so much out there, and things are going to keep
Yeah.
changing. And you're smart. You're clearly smart to
Yeah,
be where
yeah.
you are. So be nimble. Think about where you want to be. Look at what the trends
Yeah.
are saying. Look at what's going on. And if you think that in the long term something might not work out, that's going to give you what you think you want, then don't go for it. Don't get annoyed by other people doing those things. Let them do them, and you get to where you need to get to. That's all that matters. But I mean, I guess it does relate to, I mean, there was another tweet from about ACPs as well, wasn't it? About them doing endoscopy procedures, wasn't it? Yeah. And that kind of the same sentiment, isn't it? About them taking on more and more bigger roles. I say bigger roles. Is it a bigger role? Fine. Yeah, like quotation mark bigger role. Go on.
Yeah. Interestingly, I think that there's a point here. So this is from a surgical trainee, and they were saying that endoscopy training isn't really prioritized for them. And so they have to go, I think, they have to go outside their training. From what I understand, please correct us if we're wrong. And they were saying that, so this was, there's a quote tweet from Lorraine_Hickey. And she says, I wish as a senior colorectal trainee that similar endoscopy training was prioritized for us. Getting any training list is as scarce as hen's teeth. And she's referencing this, I think it's a Reddit post, but anyway, physician associates are now eligible to apply for HEE, clinical endoscopist training. He's pleased to announce a new future pipeline of workforce for endoscopy departments across the regions of England. We are proud to have worked with the Joint Advisory Committee on Gastrointestinal Endoscopy, JAG, to develop a clinical endoscopist training program to help address the increasing demand for endoscopy services and blah. Yeah. And so I guess, again, it's feeling unprioritized.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously I don't do surgery, and I never even remotely considered it for, or maybe for like all of 1 minute. It just doesn't seem very nice out there, man. It just seems like a lot of work. Don't you think? Like, it just feel bad for those guys. They have to fight for training. They've got to do all this stuff, and you look at it, and I don't know, man. Is the juice worth the squeeze, really? If you lose, it sounds like a training opportunity that you want to do, and if it's something that you really want to do and you're going to lose it, then fair enough. I can see why you get upset, but maybe that means that you do something else. I would have thought maybe do something more interesting. Maybe endoscopy is not actually. I would assume. I don't know. Like, how does this work, Trish? You tell me. Mate, how would you feel if someone started doing the, I don't know, if interventional radiology said, you know what, mate, we're taking back that procedure. We're gonna do those stents and all the rest of it now. Would you be like,
But would that mean that I can't do them anymore?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to give it to their registrars.
So the stuff that I've spent the last 10 years gearing my career towards.
And then radiology says, you know what, we're going to get our registrars to do that from now on. You don't need to. Don't worry about it. You go do something else.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go like to my fallback career of male modeling or something. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know, mate.
I think we should vote for this to happen.
Yeah. I think the thing is that a better example might be where if suddenly there was like an influx of trainees from radiology who are suddenly being trained to do angiograms or whatever. But I think the thing is that there's like waiting lists and whatever, and the demand is there. And I think if there's still work for me, then I'm not sure I'd see the big problem in it.
But I guess my point is that if that were to happen, wouldn't you just go find something else to do? You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, all right, okay. No, not as in within medicine or within cardiology. Like, all right, okay, fine. It's just not my job. It's not my job. I'll go do something else then, isn't it? What can you do? It's all right.
Yeah.
How much you really, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to.
Cavies. It's true.
I just feel like putting an entire career onto one procedure is a bit like, you surely should be able to do other things. Just go do the other thing.
True, but isn't it? Yeah. But a lot of that's out of control. Because you've seen though, right? How things are becoming more and more niche, aren't they? Like, like the red cell hematology reg and the white cell.
Is that true? Do they actually dress in red and white as well? One comes in like the angel and the other one is a devil.
I don't think it's quite as strict as that. I think I think you're allowed to get away with the thigh.
Oh, okay, fine. No horns and no, but okay, okay. This allegedly might have happened, right? I might have turned up to. Okay, I might have been trained in doing facet joint injections. It may be true, and the thing is, facet joint injections only really come to radiology if they're particularly difficult. And when you do these facet joint injections, they can take a long time because there's a lot of variables. And I don't like variables. I want to be in and out. I'm all about getting in and out as quickly as possible. When it came to taking on my new career and my new job and my new place, one of the questions were, can you do facet joint injections? And I thought, no. That's what I said. And they said, really? I was like, yeah, no. Okay. That was it. And the thing is, I get it. Someone else ended up doing them, and I assume they enjoy it. I don't enjoy it. I don't want anything to do with that kind of thing because it takes time.
Yeah,
It's
fair
the
enough.
way it is. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like you make things, obviously that's allegedly and that may or may not have happened.
yeah,
But I feel
exactly.
like you should try and make things work for you regardless of the circumstance, or just think about, is this really what I want? Is this really
Yeah,
going to be the end all? Is this really going to get me to where I want to be? And in
yeah,
that particular situation, sitting there for a morning list, doing like one fast join could take 20 minutes, the other one could take like an hour because it's wriggling around and all the rest of it. I think, yeah, I'm not up for that anymore. No, mate, I don't care. Nah.
look, a part of it though isn't just that. It's like on being valued. So Ivy, she was saying sometimes I think about the specialties that I wrote off as a career choice because of how one person treated me. A large reason why I love ENT is because the consultant was absolutely lovely. Took me to theatre, helped me with audit publication, and showed me that ENT is hard, hard, hard. I like the reply. There's a reply from Marine that says, my favorite was at the end of tertiary O&G placement when I texted the group chat of the department doctors to say, thanks for helping us. It's my last day today. Wish you all the best. And literally no one replied because they didn't know who I was, even though I've been there for 4 months.
Oh man.
Oh, sorry about
They're
that.
clearly a busy department, isn't it? With people running in and out of that place, isn't it? Yeah, well, so much of everything is based on who you bump into, right? And yeah, and the opportunities that come your way. But have you had that analogy, or maybe it was some research or something where they're talking about unlucky people versus lucky people? Have you had this one? There'll be a whole bunch of people say they're unlucky, and there'll be a whole bunch of people that say they're lucky. And what will happen?
Okay.
What they did was put 20 quid on the floor and in a restaurant. And then the lucky people walked in, found the 20 quid, asked the person next to them, is this yours? And then the person that was sitting there was an actor pretending to be like some sort of big shot person, ended up talking and maybe swapping numbers. But the unlucky people walked in, said, is this yours? And the guys, yeah, and they gave them 20 quid and walked off. And so the point was that the idea of being lucky is actually a matter of perspective and actually looking out for opportunities. If you're the kind of person who's looking out for opportunities, you're more likely to take on opportunities. But it just depends on what you think the opportunity is, right? Yeah, let's say I just saying that there may be other subspecialties that will be quite willing and quite up for taking you on board. It's just you haven't noticed the opportunity, or that they haven't given you the opportunity, or it might be worth going looking for the opportunity to see if it
Yeah.
exists. Because so much of it is about your own perspective as well, right? You can go in for a scan. I'm not saying you should do this, but you can go in for a scan and start asking about the training, asking about that scan, want to learn more. That's something. Or you can just drop the scan and go away, which is fine. It just depends on what you're trying to look for, what your perspective on things are, right? But I don't think it's a good idea just to wait for someone to be nice to you, and then choose that, right? What do you think?
Yeah. I think what you were saying before about ego and stuff is is a really big part in it because it's about how fixed you are upon this particular path. And so I think that also will govern how flexible you are to kind of, because you're talking about how you're talking about perspective. And I
Mm,
think also if your mindset is like this thing, then
mm,
sometimes it can be very difficult to look into your peripheral vision and consider other things. And
mm,
I think, like, as you say, just to harp on about perspective, it's definitely changed as time's gone in my training.
mm,
And also, I was thinking literally today about one of the other interventional trainees was saying about how they had a few lists where they're just doing angiograms. So like when you do a list, obviously like there are possible ones where you'll go on to do PCI, but sometimes you'll do the angiogram and you won't find coronary disease to treat, right? He was
mm.
saying to me, like, it's really frustrating. Last few lists I've had that just been angiograms. And I remember as a junior reg seeing my senior reg saying stuff along the same line and also getting a bit wound up to begin with. It's like being just cats and just cats. And I remember one day like thinking to myself, I remember when I'd turn up to those catalysts and feel well stressed about being able to do the angiogram like by myself. And now it's like just a cath or whatever. And if I was to think about that me then, I'd be pretty like damn stoked that I'm in this position now where I'm like not happy or whatever and doing other things. Also, like now as like the senior age, when that guy was like telling me that, didn't really take that perspective. I was just a bit along the lines of, yeah, there are kind of things that you learn from like challenging anatomy or whatever. But my point is that sometimes it also depends on the cohort that you're in terms of how like blinkered you are about other things. And I
Yeah.
hope that like now as a senior trainee that I can give an aura of not being so obsessed with being on absolutely every kind of list and whatever. And I think the reason why I say that is because I think, say, for example, if you look at the kind of cohort of people who might choose certain kind of medical specialties, I think I basically came down to ego. And I think I think my point was going to be something like, I think there's a lot of ego and stuff in surgery. And I think a lot of that comes from our seniors, but then you end up adopting their
Yeah.
because that's the environment you're in.
Yeah.
And so it makes it very difficult to consider alternatives. I feel bad to them, but you hope that kind of people will break that mold eventually.
No, I,
Sorry.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I think obviously you do pick up a lot from your seniors and stuff. And I remember when I first had some seniors, it depended on the seniority, but some seniors would get really annoyed about the scans that were coming in. Obviously, like, it feels so silly to talk about scans when compared to, I don't know, saving someone's heart. Anyway, this is the life I have. So people used to get really annoyed about the scans that were coming in and be like, oh, God, it's such a waste of time that I've had this many normal scans, such a ridiculous time. But then after a while, I thought to myself, like, that's actually quite good though, isn't it? It's like a really easy scan. So like, why am I complaining about the easy stuff? Like, it's the ones that are hard that you think, oh, great, here we go.
Yeah.
And your life, as you get more and more senior, the way I took it was that I'm quite pleased when something comes back normal. Something's very, it's great for the patient, great for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome. I love it. I love a normal scan. I love a normal thing coming through. I love all of that stuff. That's the best. Those are the best ones. But yeah, coming back to that sort of, what would you tell like a junior doctor or anyone coming into medicine is, I would genuinely say, think about the bigger picture. I would even literally be the kind of person that would walk around the consultant car park and look at who's got the biggest car. Who's got the Bentley? Who is that? And how do I do what they do? And how hard is it to do what they do? I'm playing around, but you might miss a few opportunities if you're just waiting for someone to be nice to you. And you just want to look around and see what people think about, what it is that you really want from all of this, and see which subspects could do that for you, and then try and go for it. Because there's nothing can really stop you getting to where you want to get to. You're all smart people and proving yourself time and time again, despite how you feel. And sometimes, you know, I know medicine can be hard out there, isn't it? Especially with some seniors who can be a little bit off.
Yeah. I do feel like there'd be people who would respond to that sentiment. Not that I'm agreeing or playing devil's advocate, but I think because I think it links on quite well to one of the other things I wanted to mention, but we'll say, oh, you're not like that. You're not really not driven enough. Then if you're just willing to consider other things, like I can imagine there'd be a vertical type and say you don't want it enough. And
I say to stuff like that, we're just driven in different things, mate. I'm driven to sit on my backside and do jack all for as long as possible. That's the drive.
I agree. There's a New York Post that said Gen Z party poopers have ruined after work drinks. And I just thought that's like a really interesting kind of perspective to take. And in honesty, isn't that a great thing that they don't want to go and get scratched after work? And then, but I saw this kind of, the tweet that I copied in was from Heidi and Moore, or her handles at Moorhen. Wow, the youths have no respect for situations that are ripe for workplace harassment. Exactly. And then they say, he's mad about this married Gen X dudes who wanted to hit on younger co-workers. Amazing.
I think there's a very good change in things. Like, a lot of the time people would say stuff like, choose a job that you love because you're going to spend most of your time doing it. The people that you spend your time with are going to be, actually, most of the hours that you spend are going to be at work with your work colleagues. But this kind of thing shows me that hopefully things are changing. Not that I've got any issues with my work colleagues. They're very lovely and stuff, but they're not the primary source of happiness and what you're looking for. And if you're telling me that Gen Z people aren't willing to hang around for after work dinners, it just means that work and the whole work ethos and everything around work is not as big a deal as it used to be for people, which I think is a good thing. If they're going home and doing whatever they want to do, I don't know, going to the gym and watching Netflix or the rest of it, then that's better, isn't it? It's better for them and better for everyone that you've got happy people spending time with their loved ones, one would hope, or meeting new people in the environments they'd like to meet new people. I don't know. And then maybe they go and dress up as whatever they want to dress up in their own time, and then get called in. Did you see that one? There was a nice little tweet about Halloween. We forgot about the balls up, didn't we? So can we put this as a balls up of the week? The Manscaped balls up?
No, we've got another.
No, okay, fine. You all got balls on. Okay, fine. This was this cracked me up because it was Halloween, and this doctor was clearly at a Halloween party and was called in to deliver. I just look at the pictures. Deliver a baby. But they were dressed as the Joker, not the Joker from, I don't know, Batman Returns. It was a Batman Returns. I'm going to upset you, aren't I? The Batman. Okay. Oh yeah, Batman Returns with the Penguin. So it's Batman with Michael Keaton. It wasn't that one. It was Heath Ledger. Yeah, it was Heath Ledger's The Dark Knight. You were testing me there. Yeah, I can see your face. Like, I hope I don't get this wrong.
See, as you know, I look like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
He's literally delivered the baby dressed up as that Joker. It is horrendous, but funny and wonderful all at the same time. Do you think?
It's amazing. That is a really cool costume as well.
Yeah, and to come and deliver it as a...
To be honest, yeah, if you're on call and they go, I wouldn't want to take that makeup off. They've done such a good job.
There should be like They should deliver things as Teletubbies or something. That might be more fun. Here we go.
Yeah, that'd be
Here's the
good.
obs and gynae consult. Oh, dressed up as a Teletubby today. All right, here we go.
Lighten the mood. Yeah, lighten the mood. Yeah. Speaking of babies, did you see that there was a tweet that said that the name Nigel is now officially extinct? In the last year for which records are available, the number of babies called Nigel was precisely 0.
But this is why.
Isn't that amazing?
But this is why. This is why Brexit's happened, isn't it? So we can get more Nigels.
Yeah. No,
There's not enough Nigels. We need to do
one
it.
Brexit bonus at least.
Do you know anyone called Nigel?
I don't actually.
No, I don't either.
Although, embarrassingly, there was a rep
Hmm.
who I called Nigel. People are like, why are you calling him Nigel? I thought it was a fake. But like, it's not. I can't remember what his name was. Damn it. I
man.
literally still remember.
That
They
is.
didn't correct me.
It just takes one famous person to come out as Nigel. So then the next David Beckham is going to be called Nigel something, and that's it. A whole load of babies will be called the next Nigel. Should we go on to the balls up of the week? Should we just get that done? Yeah. What was the balls up of the week?
So I called it Balls Up of the Week because there was a Junior Doctor's post which talked about competition ratios. It said that all recruitment to CT1, ST1 posts had a competition of greater than 2, including GP, pediatrics, and integrated medical training, right? And then from there, it seemed to spiral into stuff about international medical
Again.
graduate.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how it came.
Oh, man.
It came from that.
Oh, really? It came from that. Yeah. Okay, fine. We're going to be talking about the balls up of the week, which goes to Junior Doctor Reddit forums about bringing in international medical graduates into competition ratios when they're clearly not related to one another at all. Do support the Two Medics podcast, brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precisely engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their exclusive offer of 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code 2medics at manscaped.com. And if my math's correct, that's 12 million balls. So anyway, like we said before, there's some really great products in here. I genuinely have started using them quite regularly. I would 100% have a look at them. Do check it out. Type in 2medics at manscaped.com to get 20% off. And your Christmas is around the corner. Yeah, why not just get someone that you love, someone that you like, or someone maybe you don't like all that much. Some Manscaped boxes at least, because they're decent. They are a decent set. The whole thing's a very decent set of kit, and it all looks very fancy. 4th generation trimmer features cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. Lawnmower is waterproof and has a 4000K LED spotlight. And there's loads of really cool stuff there. So do check out their website and do use it and support the podcast. So yeah, I feel like we talked a little bit about this last week, didn't we? Because there was a lot of negativity towards international medical graduates. And I think I did mention that, look, in 1 minute you want no competition. Next minute you do want competitive situations. And the other minute you don't want competitive situations. It just doesn't make any sense. And we've seen this story time and time again, where we've got someone international coming across and not getting the opportunities that one would hope they'd get just based on what they look like. And one would hope we're all on the same page here. It's not about that life, man. It's not about that life of giving people a hard time or not giving them what they deserve based on where they are from. Yeah.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because it shows like it went from competition ratios to that. And you'd think that people would get annoyed at if you look at the post numbers, like how they're not increasing. Some of the roles, like where we do need there are like post crises, there aren't that many posts, and you're like, that's what the problem is. But no, the focus shifted to that. And so people are like, oh, it's not racist to talk about it. No, it's not. In fact, did you see there was this, I swear to God, this person is like Sajid Javid of like brown people. Do you see this tweet? I won't mention this person's name because they're a medical student and staff. But you could see that when this guy tweeted, going, well, it's not racist to have legitimate concern.
Oh, God, I love
and you can
that
see
one.
like people like Veiny Man and stuff like, oh, you're like, mate, look who's agreeing with you. Maybe that will give you like a yardstick as to which road you're going down. And look at the company you're keeping with your like trash views. And because, and I think that's why all that kind of stuff, when people go from competition ratios to talking about international graduates, there's something going on there that's just not being said out loud. And that's how we see that there's people of color in jobs, and that's the problem.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
Exactly. And that's the dog whistle, right? People can hear it. They're not saying it out loud. You're not hearing it out loud. And then, but then when you're going, oh, it's not racist, it's like legitimate concerns or whatever, as if tackling racism, which we know can take many forms, as if that is like some kind of derailment of this racism as a distraction. It's not, it's an important part of life, like people's existence. And so just to call that a distraction it just shows that maybe you think it's exhausting and been talked about enough. Then I think that's probably you're part of the problem, because it won't need to be talked about anymore when it's gone.
Yeah.
But if you're like, oh yeah, it's not, or it's like, then get it. You don't have the fortitude. You don't think it's that important. You think it's been talked about enough. You don't recognize that it's still a problem. That's an issue. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I just hope that I hope that this is just a vocal minority. Like it just has to, I can't imagine this is like a general thing. And I think we spoke about this the other day. There's a YouTuber that I follow and he's quite hilarious, but he started a cryptocurrency. And then the cryptocurrency started inadvertently taking off. And he was a bit like, I didn't expect to take off. I just did it as a joke just to show you how people can manufacture a cryptocurrency very easily. But what ended up happening was that it started getting hijacked and people started tweeting and going on about it. And it actually started becoming something of value. And to the point that he was actually suddenly worth like millions and millions of dollars. But the thing is, he's already quite well off. So he was like, I don't want to scam people. So he actually shut down a whole load of it, donated a whole load of it, and just let everyone else run with it. But he was saying that what was interesting about this particular thing was that a vocal minority was just managing to make it hyped up. And it was the same account saying the same things, going to multiple places, hyping this up. But when you really looked at who were doing it, there was only like a select few that somehow increased the value of something that was essentially worthless. And so this is what I think about this kind of stuff as well, is like, essentially this is the worstest opinion, isn't it really? When you've got competition ratios, and the bigger picture is that you need more radiologists, cardiologists, you need all these people, all these people, right? And if someone comes out where there's nothing argument about, yeah, but you know what, it's their fault because they're coming up across this country. And what ends up happening is that you get the vocal minority that I think, and I hope it's a vocal minority that keep going on and on about it from anon accounts, their own accounts, and agreeing with one another. And then it just comes across this as a bigger deal. And I just really hope that this is not like a general sentiment amongst people. And just trying to say something else. My sister, for those that don't know, is Romana Lasker. And she actually it's really weird that because of this podcast, some people come up to her and say, because her name's Lasker, they assume that she's married to me, which is weird. But yeah, I know. They're like, oh, are you married? And it's like, no, she's my brother. And it's like, okay. But she was telling me, I don't know what she said, but anyway, she was saying that the people that she teaches, she does some teaching like PDS or something at UCL. And she was telling me that the students that are coming in now are very aware. And you can have these very frank conversations about biases and white privilege and all these kind of things. And they are completely aware of it, completely talking about it very openly, non-issue. Whereas I feel like for maybe, I hate to say our generation, but we are a bit older. These conversations are still hard to have. And we can see on Twitter that when they do come up, they become difficult topics and people get irate, people get emotional and get angry. But if anything, on the very skewed version of events from what I hear from my sister, things are getting better, that people can talk about these things and hopefully not go to dark places by doing so. Yeah, so maybe that's some hope for the future. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that gets the balls of the week. Well done. Hopefully Junior Doctor Reddit doesn't keep getting balls of the week, but I feel like as long as it's sponsored by Manscaped, this might keep happening. So anyway, if you did enjoy that segment, please do go buy some boxes for someone you don't like. Maybe they become someone you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a light-hearted tweet that I wanted to mention. So there's a tweet from Lucy Huber, or at CL Hubes, that says, the funniest thing that's ever happened to me as a parent is once my 2-year-old was having a full-on meltdown and accidentally kicked an electronic toy dinosaur. And it went, can you feed me? And my son, through massive sobs, goes, no, I can't right now, dinosaur, and continues screaming.
Kids are funny, isn't it? It's really funny.
Yeah.
I think my kids today were like doing some sort of this, and this is the best athletic in the world. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I looked across and she meant athlete. And then she was telling my son that he was going to jump over some pillows, and it was just some 2 or 3 pillows, but he was so pleased. So I had to like really clap and, yeah, awesome. Well done, son. Yeah. Well done. Not that he really cared about my opinion. I told you what my son, I messaged you the other day when I was really upset because he was like, we're in the car, we're driving along. And he goes, you know what, to my wife and me, I'm going to grow up one day and I'm going to get myself a really big house. I'm like, cool. You know, you go do that. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, it's going to be made of cookies. No, it's going to be a muffin house. It's a muffin house, Dad. I was like, that's awesome. And he's, you know what, it's going to be really great. Everyone can come over. Everyone can visit. They can have their muffins except you, Dad. And I thought, sorry? Yeah, you're not allowed to come to my muffin house. It's like, wow, bro.
You say what?
Like, no, I just got angry with them. I just got really upset. I just stopped talking.
Fair
I
enough.
didn't like it. I didn't like it. I thought it was a bit harsh, but you know what? I joke with Rabia that let's say one day if the Lasker family becomes a very rich family with like multiple areas of land, people say this is the Lasker family, but then they're going to say something like, but they changed their names to something else because
Something
of this
else.
one person
Yeah.
who didn't quite like the rest of the family. So, yeah, that's going to be him.
They'll be like living in Sydney or something, Australia, somewhere really sunny, and you'll still be doing the podcast with me.
Yeah, maybe.
Shit
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
I've been putting my teeth in and be like, all right, here we go, bro. Let's do this podcast.
But like,
Yeah. There was something interesting that
Sponsored by
came from still sponsored by Manscaped. Yeah, as if anyone would be interested in our boys by then. There's a account that I've been following, or not following, but see pop up a few times. Sahil Bloom, maybe worth a follow. Just a few good tweets. But there's one good tweet he gave where he said, you don't need to have an opinion on everything. It's perfectly reasonable to have no opinion on something that you haven't researched or don't understand. Wow. Isn't that a good sentence? That is what a lot of people need to understand, that you just don't need to have an opinion. You just don't need to have an opinion at all.
Yeah. I think that's useful, and that kind of does lead on to this other tweet from Jessica Wong.
Yeah.
So I worked with her in cardiology, and she said, I've been mistaken for so many different Chinese doctors at work that I feel we should all just line up and take a photo together and ask our teams to pick out the correct person.
Oh.
And there are some people who are applying with just apologist rubbish. And I think there's one person in particular whose research on this suggests people are poor at differentiating, basically quoting some really old, terrible research. And then this person literally put in this paper, and I was like, I could smell the bullshit. And so I clicked on it. I was like, this is bullshit. And I was like, did you even read the paper that you posted? But then, interestingly, like spinning on from that, there were some people saying, oh, sometimes I find it hard. And basically, there are a few white women who are basically saying, oh, yeah, like it's really hard for us. And, oh, we feel really uncomfortable, like bringing it up. And then they were talking about it, like in a way, it was really weird because they're applying to Shivani. And basically, it's kind of putting this onus on Shivani to be like, oh, no, we're not talking about you. And I was like, in the center of this, it was Jessica talking about her feelings and being just being really having to say, no, I'm not that person. Sorry. I'm me. I've been working here for this period. And instead of that, it just reframed it to their feelings. And interestingly, in that situation, I think for Jessica anyway, I imagine most of this will come from people who perhaps more senior to her. I think that's often where it can become really quite hurtful. And the people who are applying were quite senior, and you're like, there's a power gradient there. Yet we're having to think about your feelings amongst this. And have you even replied to the original person to say, I'm sorry that you feel that way? No, all you've done is stolen a narrative. I don't know if I'm being harsh. Do you know what I mean harsh?
No, I mean, it's a common thing, isn't it, with this kind of stuff? I didn't know whether I was going to bring this up, but I might as well. I don't know if you heard of someone called True Geordie. You ever heard of True Geordie?
Yeah.
Something went down with him. For those of you who don't know, True Geordie's got a very big podcast. Actually, they were sponsored by Manscaped at one point. Anyway, yeah, I remember because anyway, but there was sort of stuff I had to read through. But yeah, True Geordie were sponsored by the same sponsors. But okay, so I'll just say it. So basically, another internet celebrity who will remain nameless has recently converted to Islam. And True Geordie doesn't like this person on a personal level and decided to make a joke about the person blowing themselves up. And if they were really true to Islam, essentially he was saying if they were true to Islam and stuff, then they should blow themselves up, which is a terrible thing to say. And I think after the episode aired and stuff, clearly it took a bit of people were tweeting about it and stuff. And then one would hope that someone spoke to him, and then he did an apology. And I don't know if anyone saw the apology,
I saw that.
but it was, one of the worst apologies I'd ever seen. But then what made it, remember, we've spoken this, what makes a good apology, Thrusha? And I've learned this from working with you and doing this podcast and watching Twitter and seeing where it's gone wrong. And I feel like there are rules to an apology that people need to follow. And since that, I've taken that to heart with myself. When I do apologize or think I've done something wrong, there's a way to apologize. Thrusha, what went wrong with this apology, and what are people still upset about? Even though the guy said sorry. He said sorry. So what's the issue?
He did. I think he did use the word sorry. I think the problem is that he doesn't really express. So he puts it on other people, for starters. So in some ways, that doesn't really take response. You don't own the hurt you've caused. You make it about how people have interpreted what you said. He uses a few tropes, I think, that I can't remember all of it. So I don't think it's like a whole episode. I think that's the other thing. He made like a whole episode out of it. And you're like, I think in that way, it almost makes you think that this person's doing it for attention. It just turned it into a podcast episode. So there's lots of things that essentially just show insincerity. And I think that's the most important thing about an apology is sincerity. You say that you're sorry. You say that you regret what's happened. and you acknowledge what you've done wrong. And the other things that you need to realize, or at least with a good apology, is show some willingness to change your behavior or understand what you've done wrong and then change. Right. And then I don't think that person's done that. They've used the notoriety from this to spin out more views. So it doesn't seem terribly sincere at all. It's a terrible apology for that reason.
Yeah. The few apologies that we've seen so far, the best ones are just like, sorry, I've got it wrong and I need to work on myself. There's no excuse. I'm sorry. And they've just said it. And there's no excuse. There's no explaining. There's nothing. But unfortunately, this one was like, there was lots of drivel and talking about themselves and how they felt about it and like their own issues. And yeah, okay, but just say sorry and move on, man. Like in truth, most people, I think, I know we've got a bit of a cancer culture. I think a lot of people are wanting him to cancel. And I think he's been dropped by one of his sponsors, fortunately.
Yeah, so Gymshark
sponsored him. But it's like most people just don't want the grief, do they? Do they really want people to be cancelled? And this is essentially his livelihood, isn't it? That's what he does. He doesn't do anything else, as far as I understand. So if his media career goes out the window, what's the guy going to do for that? He's only like mid-30s or something. You don't really, I don't know. I wouldn't want him to be 100% cancelled. You don't want him to lose everything over what is a passing comment, but you'd hope that someone just learn and move on and just do something positive. I don't know.
It's generous to say it's passing comment though, isn't it? Because obviously with that apology, he hasn't really learned anything. And the things that other people have come out and said that he said stuff like that before. So,
So
you're like, so then you're like, what's a trash person? So maybe he should be making a living doing other things where he isn't spreading this kind of bilious message to people. Because obviously people are listening and be like, oh, I don't know. I'm not for like censoring people, but I am for people having consequences for being idiots.
Yeah, true. I just hope that, I don't know. I hope this guy just
finds happiness. I hope he finds peace.
Just fix whatever the issue is. If you can't.
Yeah, like he'll lead a better, his life would be better if he stopped being a prick. No, I hate that.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that a thing where if everyone is a prick around you, then maybe you're the prick? Yeah.
Okay. So there was a tweet that I definitely wanted to bring up, because it was so hilarious. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. So there's a tweet from TDM at Dr. TADM, and he goes, so he copied in a kind of WhatsApp messages, which said, apparently it's the job of the night FY to fold the scrubs that get delivered to the ward and put them into neat piles for the consultant.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. But then, have you never had a useless job to do? Have you not had a useless job that you got to do for the consultant? There must have been at some point a useless job.
Yeah.
Just thought, nah, mate, why?
It shows that it's for weird electives being.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day when radiology, before it had PACS computers, it was the registrar's job to get each of the films and put it into this kind of roller for the consultant to come and kind of roll through the images and stuff. So it was their job to get all the images ready. That was it. Like literally pick up these things and put it into the light boxes, into this roller things and stuff like that. And then I think I didn't have to do that, thankfully, because PACS and all that stuff had existed by the time I got there. But I had to come in and I had to write down the biopsy results onto some stickers, print out like the name, and then put it onto the sticker. And I was like ST4 by that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Actually.
Yeah.
You used to have to like drive the MDT, right? Essentially, like that's done on Teams. And like just have a computer and I like open the images and scroll through the images. So fast.
I remember once I was at an MDT. This is brilliant. And so I think there was a similar person was driving the MDT, but I think they were very junior, like an F1 or something. And they kept reading out the pathology results. And then the pathologist was like, sorry, excuse me, can you stop doing that? That's my job. And then she was like, okay, sorry, yeah. And then she just said exactly the same thing. And it kept happening again and again. And the pathologist getting irate. Listen, stop taking my job away from us. Well, she's saying the same thing as you. What's the deal here? Like, it does actually make you wonder, why are you here if she's just going to read out your report? And no one knows what's going on in pathology anyway. Sorry, I know the pathologists that may listen to us, but no one knows what's going on. You're going to show me all their cells. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks. Yeah, all right. Yeah. So everyone had some silly jobs over the years.
It's bonkers, isn't it? I just think I can see why people would balk at the idea of doing that.
Yeah, this is something else, isn't it? Come on, mate. I think I joked with someone. I didn't go through 6 years of uni, 2 years of junior, 4 years of ST training to be now writing labels and sticking on this piece of paper for the consultant to walk in and be like, okay, well, it was a benign lesion. Great, thanks. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's silly, isn't it? But it's strange what the stuff we get up to in medicine anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a few other kind of like hot topics. So obviously the nurses across the UK have voted to strike before Christmas. So
but was there something that happened though? But there was something that happened where there wasn't enough votes somewhere. I missed that. What was that?
So I think it's because, there weren't enough votes. I think for it to be all of the trusts, I think it's going to be certain trusts, I think.
Oh,
And so I think people are saying it's an important lesson to learn in terms of organizing and not be. And I think the government obviously, or the powers that be, have done the masterful things here. One is to ensure that legally you have to vote by post. The Tories are voting for their leader. They did that online. But for balloting for this, you have to do it by post, for whatever reason. I'm sure it's some bullshit reason. But that makes it more difficult. If you imagine like a nurse who's like busy juggling their life, like having to do that, it's just like an extra bit of bureaucracy. And two, I guess you had to be an RCN member, right? And I think if you're like worrying about making ends meet in terms of paying your bills, paying for fuel, you're paying for all those things, then being a member of the union, I think up until like recently, that would have seemed like a luxury. So that would have been one of the things that they didn't do. So I think in a lot of ways, unfortunately, they're undermined by the very situation that they've been nested in and are trying to rally against. So it's a shame. Like, I really hope that they do, that the strike is effective and they get the kind of pay rise that they definitely deserve. And to be honest, like when you look at the reactions on social media, like vast majority of them are very positive. It's only the kind of tiny kind of antagonistic troll accounts or bots that kind of seem to have anything negative to say. And it's stupid stuff, really, isn't it?
Elon's going to get rid of those bots for us.
Did he?
We're
Yeah.
gonna be dealing with, that's what he keeps saying. That's what he doesn't like. That's what he's trying to stop people from doing, being bots.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, look, go for it. Nurses, just go for it. You know what you're worth. You know what you want. Just please, just don't give up and just go for it. Because I don't know, man. No one else is going to fight your fight, so you just got to go for it. And it's a shame that it would be interesting to know what happened in the places that didn't get enough votes. What was it? Just research into what's going on, what's the situation. But yeah, maybe it was. It wasn't made easier. If there's like something that stops you from, like for me, for doing podcasting and all this kind of stuff, like I actually keep the camera out because I can't bother to set up every single time. You reduce friction to do the things you need to do. But as soon as you introduce a little bit of friction, then it's less likely things get done. And maybe this is one of the situations where there's a little bit of friction introduced by having to get the envelope, write it out, get a stamp or whatever, put it in. And then, that's going to suddenly drop a whole load of votes, isn't it? It's a real shame. Real shame. But anyway, at least some places are going to go for it and hopefully send. The main thing is a message goes out, isn't it? A message goes out.
Yeah.
A unified message about the whole thing.
A lot of nurses are members of Unison, and obviously Unison is the kind of trade union for like bus drivers and whatever. And they were saying, wouldn't it be cool if those other kind of jobs striked for them? This is important. We strike, because they could obviously also grind things to a halt that way, but also draw attention without the nurses having to do it. But again, this is some kind of, the narratives get played, isn't it? And ultimately, what a Tory like Labour Party at the moment looking particularly helpful in responding to the strikes either. So it's a pretty depressing situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I was actually joking with my wife a bit earlier. Is the UK really the best place to live?
Do you think?
Why am I here? I don't know.
Where would you go?
Like I don't know. Somewhere warm. I just like better weather. Actually,
I mean, that's
no tax. I don't like tax, so I'd like to pay less tax. So yeah, or no, I was in Monte Carlo.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, that's cool.
That'd be the dream, but I think it'd be very expensive. Yeah, go on.
Why would you want to stay here? Have you seen the tweet from @Leah_YPI that says, if you've never seen a UK visa rejection letter, the cruelty, the contempt, the humiliation, here's the one denying entrance to my mum because I said in my invitation letter that I was pregnant and needed help. I'm a privileged academic. Imagine what it's like for other Albanians. And oh my gosh, the tone of this is horrendous. Because I'm sure you've probably received emails that kind of have this kind of, what's the word, like this malign, indifferent tone. But this is beyond that. It goes, I know you were issued with a number of visas in the past, and your recent visa was just expired after its 2-year validity. You have applied for a visa with 2-year validity and stay in the UK for 3 months. In your visa application form, it is stated that the main purpose of your visit is to stay at your daughter's house and to help take care of your new grandson and to help her with household chores. The documents you have submitted do not indicate any social or economic ties with your own country. Your circumstances as presented in combination with your reasons for a visit at this time have failed to satisfy me that your intentions are those of a genuine visitor. On overall consideration, I'm not satisfied that you have demonstrated a need to leave the UK following your proposed visit. In light of these, I'm not satisfied you are genuinely seeking entry. It's just a lot of I'm not satisfied. I just feel like it's just so arbitrarily, it's bureaucratic for one, but two, it talks about your intentions. It's just really rude, actually. I know you've said before, like sometimes people behave in this, like when you're driving, you said that. And in the same way, this person's written this email, and I'm like, I don't think you'd have spoken to that person face to face that way. And if you did, you're an asshole. You're an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, they're coming from a relative area of authority, which is why they think they can speak like that, isn't it? It's like what they say about your true personality coming out when you've got some sort of authority over something else, and this is what they're showing in terms of what they're going. But actually, I remember something like this happened to my mum back in the day. She's got a Bangladeshi passport at the time, not anymore, but she wanted to go visit my grandmother in Sweden. And yeah, they just said, no, you can't come in, because they wrote something similar in that they were implying that she was going to go to Sweden and just live there.
Mm.
And I said, but why would I? My kids are in schools here. My husband's here. Everything's here. Like, why would I not come back? But the implication was that on some level that my mum was being dishonest in her application to go to Sweden. And then, so I think that actually spurred her. I think that might have been what spurred her to just go get a British passport and go visit the next year. And is that what they go then, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems,
Yeah.
But this whole thing about passports, I do find all a bit weird, because I'm actually going to go to Bangladesh soon. And I was looking into, do I need to get a visa? And they said that I didn't need to get a visa. And I thought, really? I don't need to get a visa. I just turn up and say I'm going to visit for whatever reasons. But if a Bangladeshi person came across to here, it doesn't seem right, does it? We could go over there. It's fine, but they can't come over here. What's that about?
Because this country is just so marvelous.
Yeah. There's no chance I'd want to stay in Bangladesh. Why would I? Yeah. Well, I don't know. None of it makes sense. I just don't understand. But anyway, those are fights for bigger people and bigger places, I guess. Doing the little shimmies. Yeah.
Should we do a festival?
Yeah, go on, do a festival, and then let's call it an evening.
Here we go. Our son showed us his box full of dildos the other day, and it's hard to navigate the very complex territory between why would you show us that, and we are glad you feel able to show us that. So that's cool.
Yeah, isn't it? It's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you transcended? But is that a good transition from parent to mate, I suppose? Or
I think
something?
so, like, because I'd like to think, though, like when my kids are grown up, that I hope that they're well adjusted enough to have their own cohort of people, friends their own age, that they could happily discuss those things with. Because I feel like I got, interestingly, like in response to our podcast, I do get some messages sometimes. And one of the jokes was that we might get sponsored by other things related to subjects that people find difficult to talk about. And one of them mentioned a sex toy that I'd never heard of before. Which is my kind of, it's called a Tenga. Have you heard of a Tenga?
No. What is this? What's
Yeah,
it, something you
I
eat?
don't know. I had to Google it. I'm still not sure what it is, though. I'm not sure, mate. But basically, my point is that my kids came up to me and they were like, I'd just be like, oh God, they'll have to be like Googling it and stuff afterwards. I wasn't very good at it. So I'd hope that they have friends to fill that void way better than I could.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
fill that void.
I can't be taking that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Nice. I'm not reading that. Come on, man.
Okay, I'll read that. I read it. It's terrible. It's terrible, isn't it? My mate's wife has a great pair of boobs and I frequently enjoy her holiday bikini pics. Ibiza 2019 is a fave. I crop my mate out though. I'm not an animal. Which is interesting. Cropping their mate out. So what does that mean? So it means that he's got them stored somewhere. I assume it's a he, it might be a she.
I assume that as in they don't want to be enjoying the view with their mate in the way, because then that would remind them of who the person is, maybe.
Yeah.
And
That's
the
a terrible
relationship with
person.
Yeah, that's kind of, that's why I just felt like I couldn't read that as a bit much. No, man.
It's awful, isn't it?
No, man. Can't be doing that to your bros. No way.
Yeah,
Cool. All right, let's call it now. And this is that for once we're recording on Thursday. Yay, managed it. Cool.
Yeah.
All right then. All right, until next week.
All right then. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And do get some boxes at the very least, or some crop preserver, or some.
I think they should do the lawnmower. The lawnmower is a good bit of kit.
Yeah, that's solid. Well, and they're all solid. I love it all.
It.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
All right then.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one. All right.
Bye.
Bye.